So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all our beautiful viewers around the globe. And thank you for dropping in and sharing this time with us. So today on Intimate Conversation, we have the beautiful Beverley Iffla. And today Bev is going to share her journey with us and much, much more, and particularly her love work that she does here on the planet with others. So I'll just introduce or welcome you. First of all, Bev, thank you for coming in.
I like to come.
Yeah, it's been lovely. And we have had you on earlier in intimate conversations, very early when we first sort of started going online with it all. And, things have really changed. There's a lot that's going on now and many things have changed. So I thought it'd be lovely for you to come back in and for you to share your gifts with everyone, or talking about them anyway. So I'll just read your bio and then we'll get into the convo. So Beverley is a heart-centered healer who has the ability to tune in at a soul level to bring clarity to what is present and alive in her clients. She has a deep connection to the earth and is very grounded in her work. In her presence, you'll feel the gentle yet powerful energy that emanates from her being. Beverley is able to listen deeply to the needs of others and offer healing with a heart-centered approach. Her journey of self-discovery has led her to awaken to her true essence and now serves as a guide for others who seek to do the same. She inspires others to connect with their own inner truth and to live a life that is authentic and aligned with their soul's purpose. Absolutely, Bev. And for those of you who don't know Bev, Bev is an amazing sound healer, I suppose we would call it, but definitely in her own authentic way of using the bowls or the bowls and her merging together, because that's really what happens. And Bev also brings through sound, and a lot of the sound is sometimes it may be Māori, it could be Aboriginal, might be Jewish, it could be whatever it is that comes through. And also Earth, of course, our beautiful Earth, our planet. So Bev, we'll get to talk about that a little bit in this chat, obviously, but were you an aware child? Were you aware of your spirit and maybe some of your gifts or abilities at that point when you were a child?
Look, I think I was. I think because I used to spend a lot of time in the bush and I was always curious about how everything worked.
Mm,
Like, I was brought up on a farm, so until I was, I think I was 11, I always lived on a farm. And so there was a creek, and I used to go down to the creek and I would play in the bush. Um, but I also was so curious about all the insects. And, um, one of the stories I can tell you is about barley, like the heads of barley. So they have, um,
yep.
yeah, hairs on them. And I
Yes.
was curious about it, so I thought I'd eat one. Well, it got stuck in my throat. But this was my curiosity, was I had to test everything in my mouth with smell. It was like I needed to know. Yeah, I'm very tactile.
Yeah.
I needed to know what was happening. Um, it's like getting my hands dirty all the time.
Yeah.
So I think, look, I know I was always aware of the earth.
Yeah.
As I grew older, and because there was so much abuse in my life as a young child, it's like I sort of had let that go. I'd forgotten that it was there until I got older, until I was older.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yes. It's yeah. It's a funny thing, really, isn't it? How we have this awareness. Oh, and the other thing is, my mother used to shut me down, of course, because I would say things that she didn't want to hear.
Yeah.
Like, it might have been the truth, and it might have been the truth for her to know, but she didn't want to know about it. So I was always shut down. It was like, so, you know, when you keep getting shut down, you tend to shut down.
You do. Yeah, you
Mm,
do. You
yeah.
certainly do. So how did it all like how did you come into doing what you do? And explain, perhaps explain a bit about what you do first, and then we'll go on to how you got there and how that was all created into being.
Okay. It actually might be easy to start with how did I get there?
Yep,
I might start there
yep.
because the way I got there was through, I'd done a permaculture course and a Bowen therapy course, and was really happy with that. But I did read that there was somebody put Reiki and Bowen together. And I thought, oh, okay, I'm going to try that. Well,
Yeah.
that having a Reiki initiation blew my heart open. Like nothing else could possibly have done it for me in that point at that point of
Mm,
time. It was
yeah.
like, and I was like, oh my God, what else can I learn? It was like this absolute, I was so
Hunger.
driven to
Mm,
actually to learn more and more. I was like a sponge that could never be filled up.
yeah.
Yeah, so with that, I found finally, you know, I was busy in the energetic world and, you know, it's all wonderful. Never done any work on actually what was going on inside me
Mm,
until I found a sound healer who worked in groups, and using the sound helped me to go deep inside my body so that I could then uncover the trauma. Um, yeah, so
mm,
that was the first time, and I think that would have been in maybe about 95. So it's a fair while ago that I found that I had to get rid of my own trauma so that I could be a clearer channel for others to, so that I could help others the more I cleared my own channels.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so from that sound,
Mm.
um, and releasing and realizing that there was deeper stuff,
Yeah.
where from there, like did you start doing the bowls and that then, or was there
Pretty
trauma?
much. That was about when I left my husband. So, with the doing the clearing and understanding why I was in relationship with him, that we had been doing perpetrator victim rounds and rounds and rounds of it, I could find I could finally leave, and I went to a little town called Esperance in West Australia, and I was gung ho back then. I opened a little healing centre and ran meditation groups, even though seriously I probably had no clue what I was actually doing, but Spirit was very much holding me and pushing me to step forward and do more. Um, yeah, so very, when I think back, and I go, God, I knew so little, but I also know that the people from way back there have actually, they've all moved on and they grew from me starting those groups.
Right.
Mm,
Very cool.
yeah. Yeah, so I
Mm,
see some of them still, you know,
yeah.
like that's in the late 90s
Yeah.
and I still see some of them. Um, and it's quite amazing to see how they've grown from that.
Yeah. Beautiful,
Mm.
eh? Because
So yes, oh sorry, I was just going to say like my sound. So I was married to a man who had the most beautiful voice. He was tone perfect, and he couldn't stand me singing around him because I apparently am tone deaf. I don't know. So for me to use my voice was a real challenge. So
Mm.
having a crystal bowl to start with, that would make the sound. Until one day I broke my bowl in the middle of a session, and I know I went to
Wow.
pick it up and it touched the wall, cracked. And this woman that I was with was in a deep process of working with her inner child, but I also knew that we still needed sound for her to access even further. So I had to use my voice.
Um,
Mm.
that would have been a challenge.
It was a challenge.
Yeah.
um, and I suppose I spent a couple of years without a bowl because back then they were so expensive,
Yeah.
and they were, especially for like me being on my own, blah blah blah, and yeah, so not having a bowl, and then I would work with people using my sound, and then I was given a bowl by a
Right.
very kind woman, this beautiful big Bella, she's called.
No, I've met Bella.
You've met Bella a few times. Yeah, so her and I sang together for a long time without actually using it with other people. So,
Yeah.
and then my voice and the bowl became very connected. So pretty much that's the story of my bowl.
Mm.
And the bowl, it takes people, it bypasses their conscious mind. They can't actually make sense of just sound. There's not there's not a melody that you carry that you're listening to. There's not words. There's nothing. It's just sound,
Yeah.
and using sound just opens the cells of the body for remembrance.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
it's to bring those memories out of mostly I work with people that have had trauma. So it brings the trauma out so that they can view it and release it.
Yeah.
And as I said before, sometimes it takes more than one go at releasing something that's a very deep wounding,
Mhm.
but to be able to cognitively understand why that pattern's there is very helpful for clients.
Totally. Yeah.
Mm.
And
This
that's where I was going to go. See, sound for me, I love it. I can be in it, but I always needed to understand. Like I needed the information for
as
me to be able to integrate it, I suppose.
mm,
And definitely had sound been involved in sound healings as such, I suppose, or sound evenings. What do they call them? Sound baths now.
yeah,
And I tend to journey off. I go off and I'm out there, and and yeah, there's not a lot of going in the body for me, even though I'm in the body, but yeah, it's a different thing. I know when I first started experiencing sound bowl and sound bath, it was very interesting. But one of the ones that I do remember of yours was when I first met you, and that was in Auckland when you were here in New Zealand, and went to this evening, and man, it took me a bit to get back. You took me right out. I went right out, and I was blown away with the sound that you brought through. There were times I was thinking, oh my God, what the hell's that noise? Like, what is that sound? Because your voice just takes over. Whatever it's bringing through is whatever it's bringing through. And there
yeah,
was so much of it I could relate to in that, whatever those sounds were that you were bringing in, and where they were coming from. Like I was saying about, it could be Maori or Aboriginal, whatever it is. And it was like bringing me back to me in those places as well. It was very interesting, and I'd never experienced somebody using sound the way you do with your voice. I mean, of sound bowl stuff, yeah,
yeah.
gong, all of that. But the way that you bring through sound is quite different. I've always said Bev, I believe you're the queen of sound. Honestly, the way you work is just different, and it's amazing. I love it.
Thank you.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. So there's two parts to my work. So one is doing the bowls and doing sound baths,
Yeah.
because they do. I find that people do go out, but they don't go out for a non-purpose. They go out to reclaim and bring back parts of themselves that they've left scattered around the universe.
Yeah.
And, that's a very different thing to when I work, say, one on one or in a group session where I use sound.
Mm-hmm.
So I love doing sound baths. There's no question about that. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
But to do work with people one on one or in a group where they're looking inside their body at what's really going on, um, is an even greater joy for me.
Yeah.
But those sound baths, because they're 2 hours. They're not like we're going to go in for 7 days and really work with stuff. It's like this is something that's quite gentle, introduce people to the bowls, to my voice, and what comes forward. But
Yeah.
the other part of my work is my deep love. It's actually the part of me that wants to help people own their shadow.
Mm.
So, there's we've all got those parts of ourselves. We know we've got this light voice going here, and then we've got that one going over here. And
Mm.
it's like being able to really recognize the voice that we want to push away and actually bring it in and claim all parts of us, however traumatic that might be. It's
Yeah.
like, yes, they're all parts of us. And if we're part of the collective, if we're all one, then what we're seeing out there is reflected within us. So what I do is help people go and find that part within them that they're seeing outside of themselves so that we can bring healing to that, as well as then we're adding our small amount to the collective as far as healing is concerned.
Mm. Yeah. And I
Mm,
think what I love too about the way that you work, yes, but I feel like many others too, in lots of ways, is that there's no suggestive, like you're not suggesting to somebody that this is what I feel it might be, it's their body actually bringing the answers, bringing the awareness, bringing the clarity to that's being presented. And
yeah,
so it's not something that's coming from somebody else, which I love. You're assisting with a tool,
yeah.
and it's offering them that space to be able to go in and find that for themselves, which is
Yeah, absolutely. I don't believe in um, pointing out the things that I actually can see.
mm,
But what I can do is I can listen deeply to what people are saying and what's beneath that. And
yes.
sometimes I'll just hear them say something and I'll go, and what's underneath that? And
Mm,
it's like really bringing them underneath that. This is, I don't know what it is. I can't really explain it, what I hear or what I feel, but I just know that there's something else there that could be explored.
yeah.
Because, people are really quick to go off into story over
Yep.
here somewhere. But
So
like being able to just nail them and go, come back here to what is this? And
mm,
then help them to move through whatever that might be.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I sort of feel like that deep listening part is a part that's been missing for a long time for a lot of people. We're
Yes.
always listening to respond rather than listening to hear,
Yeah.
because some people's stories are really, really tough to listen to.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, so it's like I think that's part of why I've had such a traumatic life, to say, is because now I can open that space to hear whatever comes from people.
That's right. And we've had to experience that trauma stuff. You know, we're very old souls, Bev. We've been here many, many times experiencing trauma. So
Yep.
there's a lot impacted within our bodies of our blueprint, you know, from our
Yeah.
cellular blueprint. But that's definitely, like, everyone's carrying a lot of trauma and a lot of very old stuff. But the
Mm.
story is definitely what people really enjoy more than anything, is going into the story. And yeah, it's
It
just
just
keeps it
perfectly,
alive.
yeah, it just keeps recreating it the more that we tell that story.
Yeah.
The only way, well, so I can tell story, but as I tell story, I'm not really in the story anymore. It's
No.
like I'm more observing my old story. Um,
Well, the wisdom that's come from it, eh? Like, you know,
yeah,
we can look back over the journey and the experiences, but now we have the wisdom from them, not the pain and the stuff that keeps taking us back in and recreating more.
yeah,
Yeah,
that
been
would
able
probably
to,
be a way to explain
yeah,
it. Mm, yeah,
yes. It's interesting. But you also, Bev, are very connected to this earth. I mean, you know, you definitely are.
yeah,
And you also go into spaces with groups. So, you know, I know when you were in Murawa, you went into a cave down there in this, you know, sea beach place. I
yeah,
don't know
yeah.
where that was, but you know, there was, and it's it's this earth, Papatūānuku, to us. I don't know, what is the Aboriginal word for the planet? Do you know?
That is a very good question, and I don't know the answer to that.
I'd really love to know.
I
I
might
really
think I
would.
might explore that.
Yeah.
The thing with the Aboriginals, they have different language groups all around
Yes.
Australia.
Yeah.
So there's not one that is, they're not consistent in all of
Yeah.
that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like
Uh,
she, this Earth Mother, Gaia, whatever we want to call her, um, really assists, say, like when you choose, when you're getting shown a spot on the planet somewhere like Uluru, it's like, you know, there's going to be some profound release there or memory that's coming up, because I think and I believe that we have connection to pockets on the planet
yeah.
of her body that are connected to some connection to us and what we've experienced in the same way that she
Uh,
may have memory, I
yeah.
mean. Yeah, if that made
Yeah.
any sense, but yeah.
Yeah, so part of my journey was that I needed to be born at the Parongarups, which is a mountain range it's actually the oldest mountain range in the world. It's
Mm,
just been so eroded by wind and rain and all of the rest of it that it's not very high anymore. But
right.
that was part of where I needed to be born, was part of my arriving here on the planet. And I did speak to an Aboriginal elder here the other day, and she said, "Yep, that's feminine. The Parongarups is the feminine aspect. It's also a collection point for souls as they are leaving, and never to go there at night time. You're only allowed there during the day, and
Oh
do not
wow.
climb to the top of the mountain." And I looked at her and I went, "Oh, I tried to go up that mountain one day and I couldn't." It was like, "No, you're just not going up there."
Why not at night? Like, what's the thing around the night thing? What's that about? Do you
Ah, well, it was just this lady told me do not go there at night time, and I guess because the souls are very busy at night time. But we used to live right underneath that. Like, there was my nan and pop. They lived directly below Castle Rock, which is the name of the where I was born. Then
know?
we lived a couple of 100 metres down the road, and then my grandparents lived just around the corner. So we were always, it was like the Prongarups was where we lived,
Yeah. Right.
and
Yeah.
that's where I was born. And when I first went to New Zealand, one of the I stayed in a share house. It was a really big house, and one of the women said to me, she said, "Have you read this book?" And I can't remember what it was called now, but it was about inner earth. And she said, at the end of the book, it says, if you want an inner earth being to come and live with you, ask. She asked, and I arrived very shortly afterwards. And when I only read a part of that book, but when I read it, I was like, oh, that, I get it now. This is where
Right.
I'm from. So I'm actually from inner earth. So that is part of my connection is that I've come to the surface, and that's part of why I know those special places to go to, and to
Mm,
open up and to be able to um, open portals and open ways for people to access more of their knowing.
yeah.
Is when we go through those portals into the earth, like down at Miriwai in the cave there. Oh, I've had some amazing experiences in that cave
Mm,
with people just opening their hearts and opening themselves to the earth, because that is one part of our disconnect.
yeah.
Is we're disconnected from the earth.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm.
So, can you talk a bit more about the inner earth stuff, Bev? Like, do you know about like what it is in there, like what you've
Oh.
experienced? Can I just stop us there?
Mm. So inner earth is actually where I go mostly at night time, in my sleep state. But it's a place that rejuvenates me. It's a place where a lot of people on the planet actually go at night time, because it is a place of refreshment and a place of knowing that everything's actually okay. Um, you know, what we're playing out here on the surface is not what's played out on inner earth.
Right.
It's a whole different, there's a whole different scenario going on in there.
Yeah.
They're holding, those that are still in inner earth are holding a light for us. So if we connect more into our earth and connect more into the light that she has, the more grounded we're going to become, but the more light we can bring here onto the planet too.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
I I do go into the earth and go into there's a rejuvenation tank
Yep.
that I go in. And when at times when I felt really exhausted or just want to have some yummy time,
Yep.
I go into these rejuvenation
Chambers.
chambers. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
like a float tank type thing. Well, you're laying in them
You
like
lay in them.
like a capsule. They'll go. There's a top that goes on, and it's really beautiful.
Mm. It restores you.
Does. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if you've had lives down in inner earth.
I feel like that too. But yeah, I can't say that 100%, but yes, I definitely do feel that that's part of my thing. I've
Yeah.
been there. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, if everything is one, we'll all have been there at some point.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
And I think there's quite a few on the planet now that have come to remind people of where they come from.
Mm,
It's it you know we've had to come to the surface so
yeah.
that we act as a reminder of
Mm,
of what it can be like.
yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, it feels like a big miche, but I mean it's shifting. We're doing an amazing job. I mean, and the light's just really taken over the planet now, I believe.
Yeah.
So it's happening, and I get excited, but I also have these little bits of little apprehension on actually where we're heading in respect to what our bodies are going to be able to do, like
Mm.
actually.
Yeah.
Um, and I
Because
think
we're going.
I get a little worried about the new like med beds, stuff like that coming out that are just again something that takes you away from your natural healing ability. of our own body, our own wisdoms within it, and still handing it over to something else. That sort of bothers me a wee bit, but that's everyone's own journey, whatever they're going to do, isn't it? you know
Yeah.
yeah,
And I sometimes think, so there's tools and then there's us. And sometimes we need the tools, a bit like my crystal ball.
yeah,
Sometimes we need those tools to remind us
yeah,
actually of what we have. Um, and you know, I don't know when it comes
yeah,
to the med beds. I don't know. It's not
mm,
been my experience, so I don't know that part.
yeah,
Um, yeah, our own innate healing abilities. Sometimes we need a trigger to
mm,
remind us of that, and maybe that's what the med beds will do. I don't know.
yeah. I'm not sure either.
I'm very suspicious about a lot of things that are coming out.
Yeah,
Um, yeah,
yeah, me too.
yeah,
And it's just discernment, really. It's just
yep,
knowing that we've been led along for many years, many lifetimes, and now
mm,
it's time to actually take notice of what's being presented, and just feel into it a bit more than what we might have done in the past.
yeah,
Not be so accepting of everything being okay and oh, looks really good. What's in behind it? What is it? What
yeah.
is it bringing in? Mm,
And that's the point of doing the healing, is because we can't always discern very well
no.
unless we have that had that healing, because we're so programmed to, we are just programmed right from the beginning to accept what's right and what's wrong.
Yes.
And the more that we're exposed to things like, like watching television, or even listening to, say, me, I could be programming parts of you. There is,
Mm.
not that I am,
No, I get what you're saying though. Yeah.
but yeah, going to school programs us in the way that the curriculum's taught. It's
Yeah.
like there's such deep programming that it's hard for us to discern. So
Mm,
it's like that's why I love doing the deeper healing work, because it actually releases some of that programming.
does. Yeah,
Mm, yeah.
absolutely. It's great. I mean,
Mm,
only knowing and having that journey myself of, using the tools I use and knowing of how much more I understand my body, myself, my connection, my voice, my everything, you know,
yeah.
all of the signs around me, with me, in me, are leading me into more and more of that awareness. So,
Mm,
pay attention. It's great.
pay
Great
attention.
fun. Mm,
Yeah. Back when we started, and you were saying about the sounds that I bring through could be Maori or Aboriginal. It
yeah.
was actually the Aboriginals that started working through me when I first started. Uh, Surprised the hell out of me, by the way. I
Yeah,
thought,
yeah.
where did that come from?
Mm,
um, I do remember working with one woman who was of Scottish heritage, and the sound from the land of Scotland came through me,
mm,
because she was still trapped back in the time of, I don't know, about 14th century. Part of her was still trapped back in the land when they were fighting, and we just had to bring all of that through so
yeah.
that she could expand who she was.
Yeah,
Mm,
yeah,
yeah. It's always a surprise to me what
yeah.
actually comes through, because I don't control it. I just open myself as a hollow vessel
Mm,
for the sounds to come through.
yeah. No, it would be a bit of a surprise. Shock is what I was going to say, but surprise is better. um,
Yeah, it was a
yeah,
big surprise to me.
I
And I was just working on someone in a group. So I'd gone around and I was just touching them, and suddenly the sound was moving through me. I was like, whoa, where did that come from?
mm,
Mm.
yeah,
And,
I,
I know that I have been Aboriginal and I have been Maori before. Both of those have been very strong in my awareness. Uh,
mm,
I've done lots of past life work and seeing myself as Aboriginal and what I knew about the land and the insects then was quite a lot, was phenomenal, really. And the telepathy that went on between us as Aboriginal, we were much more telepathic. And I
yeah,
feel like our telepath is actually opening up a lot more now.
yeah, for sure.
Mm. I
Yeah.
know, especially for me with you, Mandy.
Mm, yeah.
You'll send me a message because we're 4 hours difference, and you send me a message in the middle of the night, as far as my middle of the night, and I wake up and there it is. There's a message from you, and it's
Mm.
it's very. Excuse me, stop breaking up my sleep.
Yeah,
but it
disturbing
is,
you.
but it is, that's happening a lot more, like
Mm,
around the planet. It's happening a lot more as
yeah,
well, and we're much more aware of what people are thinking as well.
yeah, for
Mm.
sure. Absolutely. And there was something I was just going to ask you then, and it's just gone. This is our minds at the moment. They're just sort of not holding on to much. In the
It's
moment,
not
they're just,
Alzheimer's or dementia, is it? No.
I know, they just empty
No.
out. It's like,
Yeah,
what?
they
Where'd that
do.
go?
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I agree. They and it, I remember my girls years ago said to me, "Oh, Mum, your memory's shocking." I went because I live in the present,
Yeah. It
and that
is
was that.
exactly that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
reckon it would have been 15 years or more ago. My memory hasn't got any worse, and I just go, "Yeah, well, I'm living in the present. I'm living in here and now because I can't think too far ahead anymore.
No.
I'm like, I'm supported, I'm stable, I'm really happy where I am. And it's like, well, I don't know what's going to happen there, and I can't live back in the past anymore either, because
Yeah. No,
that does not serve me to do that.
not at all.
Mm, mm,
And I think too, makes it easier when we haven't got the triggers and the connection back to that past stuff. Definitely you can leave it there. And
yeah,
like we were saying before, you got the wisdom of it, and the experience you had, and now you've got the wisdom, not the triggers,
yeah,
which makes a big difference
mm,
in having a peaceful life.
that
Anyway, or
peaceful
more
life,
peace.
yes,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Oh, so I was actually going to talk a little about uh, working in groups and the difference that that makes as well.
Yep.
Because it's all, one on ones, I actually love doing one on ones, but working in groups, then you get to see how we're all interconnected.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
I love it too. So
yeah.
cool. Yeah.
I remember we ran one up in on the Coromandel. I think there was 20 odd people in the group. Can you believe it? There were three women in there that had lost their sons.
Right.
And their sons were all around 18. There was all a different story around how they lost them, but their grief was the same.
Mm,
It's like, and those three had actually come from Australia
yeah.
to the Coromandel, and it's like they gathered there because that was a place that they could deeply release some of
Yeah.
their grief, and they had two other sisters there that supported them in that.
Well, yeah.
Mm, yeah,
Yeah.
but they didn't know each other before they arrived. There was no
Yeah.
connection between any of them.
No, it's
Mm,
great, eh? I know,
yeah,
and also working with group, I've found that and I have to say, even speaking publicly to groups,
yep,
that there's a points in there where I've had that innate knowing that I'm actually to speak about an experience that I wouldn't usually speak about. It's either got too much like I could see how it could be too traumatic for other people, and that type of thing. So I don't go into the detail. I might give an all, basic.
You know, yeah,
But
yeah,
anyway, the times that that has happened, it's absolutely been so on point for certain ones in the group that have actually been questioning and then hear that and then go, oh my God, that's exactly what I know's happened.
yeah.
To me, it's like there's this aha. And I know I used to be reluctant to bring in sometimes some of the conversation, and therefore I wouldn't say it. And courage, we've just spoken about courage, but having the courage to actually open up and speak about something that is a very deep, had been maybe a very deep trauma,
Mhm,
is actually has triggered others into an awareness of what's been going on for them.
mhm,
So
yeah.
I've learned to just go with whatever's showing up and to know that it's always going to be perfect. Mm,
Yeah, you know, that's one of the greatest lessons I learnt in New Zealand was from um, my flatmate,
yeah.
who she would always overshare as far as I was concerned.
Yeah.
But she taught me in the sharing comes the healing, and it was
Mm,
like it was that was a really big learning for me was
yeah,
to share and to know the appropriate times,
absolutely.
but it also has shown me in my sharing that I can share without the emotion attached to it anymore,
Mm,
and that tells me that I've healed that part.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It is
um,
just a story
it's
now.
just a
Yeah.
story now, but
Yeah.
that story helps others to share their story as well.
Mm,
um,
absolutely.
and I do, you know, we go on about too much story, but I do remember when I first started this journey, nobody had ever heard my story
Mm,
because I had kept it so under wraps. I was ashamed that I'd allowed all these things to happen to me, so I
yeah,
never shared. But sometimes the sharing, we need to be witnessed, you know,
absolutely.
and that was such a one of those moments in my life that I remember sharing my story, and the healer, the facilitator, was just going, "And what else did you put up with, Bev?" And it
Mm,
was a 2 hour session of me just spilling all of this stuff out of me.
wow.
And there was a group of 35 people, and they all had to listen to my story. But they did.
Um,
They sat and they held the energy, and that was such a big deal for me.
yeah.
And I respect others that need their story to be witnessed.
And
Yeah,
that's it, Bev. The thing being there is too that all of those people are a part of that, in the
yeah,
sense where they're holding space for you, and I know sometimes I've thought, oh, here we go, this is going to be a bit of a thing. And you just want to get on with what you're doing and how it's all working in the group. Yes. But the importance of that and actually holding space for somebody to be able to go into those spaces is really important. And I thank everyone at the end of groups, for just doing that, holding space for each other to be able to provide that beautiful, safe space
yeah,
for somebody to be able to, or all of them to empty out in some way.
yeah.
Mm,
That
yeah,
was actually one of the things that I learnt by being, and I was being in groups as a participant, I guess maybe 10 years. It was a
yeah,
long, long time, but we learnt in those groups to how to hold the energy for the person that was processing.
yeah,
It was like it's such a big thing when somebody's doing a deep healing that they have that support around them.
yeah, for sure.
Mm,
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah.
So, Bev, how you were basically shut down a lot from actually, singing,
Yeah,
opening your
yeah.
voice. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I have to say, I have had this thing around that for me as well. You know, when you're being bullied or whatever the thing might be going on, and you're saying no, 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 stop, and it doesn't stop, and they're not hearing you, you do tend to just not bother anymore. And so, you know, I know for me, I shut down, and it took me a bit to get my voice to open up. And it was through some friends of mine who had a little recording studio, and he said to me, "What's your favorite song, Mandy? You know, let's get you in and do a recording." And I was like, "No way am I ever going to do that." Well, I did, and he couldn't get me out of the place, honestly. But once I'd got myself sorted, because my voice was quivering, it was all because I was nervous and I was holding myself back. And I clicked after about 3 or 4 starts, you know, and I said, "I'm holding myself back." And he, through his mic on the other side of the wall, said, "Yes, you are." I said, "Right, crank it up." And I needed it loud so I could really open myself up. And the way
Yeah.
I went, I actually heard glass shattering. I heard it like I would hear it if
Oh.
somebody had just dropped a mirror on the concrete. It was unreal. I broke through some glass ceiling, they call it, don't they? It felt like a big dome over me. And from that moment on, I just could actually, like I say, couldn't get me out of there. It was like, come on, let's do another one. You know, so I had my favorite album, and we did too. But what I was going to say is, I've now got bowls, you know that I've got these beautiful bowls, and I feel really connected to them, and I'm doing more and more of that. And I've used them in workshops and things with taking groups through stuff. And I really want to, I can feel this sound wants to come out of me when I'm doing that. And honestly, I still hold myself back. I'm still holding myself back from that. And I suppose I need to process something in respect to that. But how did you get there? How did you push through
Oh,
all that? Like courage again, obviously.
I guess when my bowl broke, that was
Right.
love. I think that was the universe putting me on notice. But the way that I actually perfected it, I guess, I don't know, I'm never perfect, but the way I got very confident with it is that I used to sit on my lawn with the bowl, and I used to play the bowl and sing. And I'd play the bowl and I'd use my voice, and I just kept doing that. And I guess I might have done that 3 or 4 years, just playing the bowl, nobody else really around. I mean, I would still use it when I was working with people, but I spent that time really connecting with the bowl and really allowing my voice to come out when nobody was listening.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's what I'll have to
I remember one day, so the magpies in New Zealand are different to our magpies over here. Don't know why.
do.
But anyway, and over here, and I'm in Australia, in case anybody doesn't know, the magpies here live in families. And one day I'm sitting out there on the lawn with my bowl, running the bowl, and my um, antenna, because I was living out in the country, so my TV antenna had all these bars on it, and the
Oh yeah.
whole thing filled up with magpies, and
Oh,
they were singing with me, and it was so beautiful.
oh
It
my
was like,
gosh, yes.
oh, and I've got magpies that live just out my window here, and they warble in the mornings, and it
I
just,
love
I
it.
don't know, just
Mm.
opens my heart. It's so
Yeah.
beautiful. But
Yeah.
this day was especially amazing. I also had a friend who lived directly across the valley from me, quite a distance, for her front door and my back door aligned to each other. And so I said to her one day, I'm going to play my bowl at 4 o'clock, and I want you to see if you can hear it. She could. She
Mm.
actually could hear my voice right across the valley.
Wow.
So for me, playing my bowl outside on the earth, I was actually helping the earth with her healing, but I was also helping to heal the people around me, even
Mm.
though they didn't necessarily go, oh, I can hear that. but it was creating this healing all
Yeah.
around the town that I was living in.
Beautiful way.
Mm,
I do.
yeah,
When I've got the bowls out here, I know it's sending out through
send it
this
out.
neighbourhood. It's a great thing.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
yeah, so I just go, keep practicing, just open your voice, and it's like when I first started bringing through sounds, it was actually like I had a clear tube in my throat. It was like it wasn't coming from my
Hollow
voice.
vessel thing.
Yeah, yes, I was a hollow vessel, and I could feel it. And it was like I'm standing here watching me work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a really, oh look, even now when I bring through sound, there's a part of me standing out there, and sometimes that part out there is going, "What are you doing?"
That's what I do, you see. I get critical me standing outside going, "Ah, for goodness sake, give it up." Like, no great support.
Yeah, I
Mm,
guess we should actually be supporting ourselves to do it, but no, I do have that little thing going on. But it's the feedback that you get from people and the
yeah.
expansion that they've had, the healings that they've had. I know there was one time just before I left New Zealand, I was doing the womb healing using the bowl. And
Mm,
I don't hear back from people. I don't know. They go off and do their own thing. Through a friend of a friend, I hear that one of the women that was there, her endometriosis cleared up.
oh, beautiful.
Yeah, now that's, but you don't, as a facilitator, you don't always get the feedback
Yeah.
that helps you to go, what I'm doing is really worthwhile. So
Yeah.
it's like really trusting those prompts that you get to go ahead and just do it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, for
Mm,
sure. You definitely need to trust, that is for sure. And I
yeah,
think over time we've really learned to do that, more and more, for sure.
definitely. I know I have learned to, but I do think that as time's going by, the prompts are not quite as strong as they used to be.
Mm,
It's more I get to choose,
yes.
more of a choice that I get to make now.
Yeah, it is like that now, eh?
Yeah,
That's
I
good.
think maybe my training wheels are off.
Yeah, that's right.
Mm,
Totally.
yeah,
Absolutely that.
yeah.
So, Bev, do you teach sound? Like,
No.
put you on the spot.
um, so, no, I don't teach sound. What I do is help people to clear their own blockages so they can bring through their innate sound. So
Right.
whatever is sitting in them, because my sound, my language, my all of the that I do is unique to me.
Yes,
Other
absolutely.
people have their own unique expression.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
So it's clearing those blocks so that they can bring it through. So my biggest block was my ex going, "Don't sing around me." He was a fantastic guitar player and singer,
Yeah.
but he definitely squashed that in me, and it was like
Mm,
I and he programmed my girls to do the same thing. So
yeah.
I love singing. I love singing in the car. And they
Mm.
go, "Oh, Mum, you're flat." It's like, oh, God, just be quiet. I'm enjoying this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
it was a big thing for me to break through.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
And now I've even got a few recordings out there.
Mm. I
Oh,
know.
mm,
So, so good, Bev. And I
mm,
mean, I just honestly would encourage you to do more because there is such gift in you that to share this with the world and to, yeah,
mm. Yep,
just get more out there,
get
let
out
more
there.
people
Mm.
reach you, because yeah, it's a great thing.
Yeah.
So many great gifts. And you do the Bowen and
Um,
Bowen. Yeah,
Bowen therapy, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, so I do Bowen. Um, mm, Not so much anymore, but it does help people a lot,
yeah,
because that was my in into a lot of things, was being able to, because my body was in such pain from playing netball and hurting
yeah.
myself, that that was the thing that actually got me through.
Right.
Um, yeah. So
Yeah.
Bowen, uh, I guess my favourite thing is actually working with people that have had trauma.
Yeah, for sure it
I'm
is.
very experienced at that.
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
very,
Comfortable in that, eh? You are.
yeah,
You just
yeah.
sink into it very, very beautifully. And
Yeah.
you've held space for me to go dive deep into a few things too, which has been beautiful.
Mm.
Um, you also do a hypnosis quit smoking, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I
Yep.
quit smoking in 60 minutes. Um, yeah, it's how I stopped smoking, because I was a big smoker, and I had the universe is pretty amazing, really.
Yeah.
I, I'd been writing a thing, I am a non-smoker, I really needed to stop smoking. Anyway, this woman that I had worked with for a fair while rang me one day. I hadn't spoken to her for ages, and she was complaining about having a sore back. And she said, "Well, I said, oh, how about you come and have a Bowen?" I said, "And you do a quit for me with hypno." So we did that, and I stopped smoking actually instantly.
Wow.
Um, yeah, I had it in the afternoon. I didn't smoke. The next morning I woke up and the little voice in my head's going, "Oh, that wouldn't work. Don't be so silly." So I went and I know those little voices.
Oh, I had a
So
little fella
anyway,
standing on
I
your
was smoking,
shoulder.
I was
Yeah.
smoking rollies at the time, so I went outside and I rolled myself a cigarette and I lit it. And then I went, well, if you're going to do that, think about what you're doing. I couldn't even get it to my lips. I
Mm,
went, oh my God, this is just poison.
yeah.
So I knew this process worked so well for me that I wanted to offer this as a service for others.
Mm, yeah.
And I can do it online. I can do it one on one here. And it's just been, I don't know how long ago I stopped, 20, 30 years, I don't know, a long time. I can't even remember how long ago that was. It was a long time. And yeah, so so between Bowen, working with people in trauma and using sound to access those things, and quit smoking. They're
Yeah.
my superpowers.
They are. And you've had clients that have come in for your the quit smoking, eh? And they've done it. Like it's
Oh
stopped them
yeah,
from
absolutely.
smoking.
It
Yeah, it's
absolutely,
amazing, eh?
yeah. And with this process, if people start smoking again, they can come back for free. And I'll just keep working with them until they get
Oh,
the
yeah,
release
cool.
that they need. Yeah,
That's wonderful.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
I quite like it because, we don't go into trauma, we don't go into any of that. It's something that's quick and easy and really beneficial for
definitely.
people.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
'Cause-
great tool.
mm.
It's so, and in particular those that you work with trauma, and then you see the breakthroughs. And I mean, I've been witness to so many that have done that with, what we do, what I do, and how it's actually impacted their family. Like their actual
Yeah,
whole family is moving on from those places as well. It's like it breaks the cycle in there for all
yep.
of their children to get on, their husband as well. They don't have to actually, a lot of the time, do the process themselves. It's through the patterning, the threads of it
Mm,
all that it relates. And so break this one, and that there is also altered. The external
yeah,
alters from it.
it
That's great.
does. it was what kept me going because, sometimes going into those parts of yourself, you're just like, oh my God, here I am. It's like, oh, and I'll go, okay, so this is helping 7 generations back and 7 generations forward. And it just gave me the impetus to keep on going because I knew there were so many family patterns that we needed to break.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm,
Yeah, for sure. And, one of the things that I've just been, talking with a lady, but many times I've seen this, these young children that are coming in now, they're very highly evolved, as we know, that they've come in their clear vessel more than we were. Like we were, like I was saying about us being old souls, we're entrenched with all this old trauma.
yeah.
Because we've had so many lifetimes of circling round and round and round we
Oh,
go.
around in circles, yeah.
These, yeah, and these young ones coming in, but a lot of these young ones now have got these illnesses and disease, like this little 2-year-old boy, he's got cancer and he's going through all of this treatment, and the grandmother's saying to me, what the hell is this? Like, why is this? Is there anything behind it in the sense of it, And for me, it's always been about the children are throwing something up for the parents to have a look at. The parents are the ones that actually need to do the healing work and their trauma and their stuff. And the
Yep.
child's trying to get them to have a look at it. Same as the pet might be that you might have, and the pet's got something going on. It's about you.
Yeah.
And so it's really interesting, but oftentimes, like for me with this, it's quite sad to watch and to see that these young ones have to come in and really do something
Oh,
hugely
to wake people
uncomfortable.
up.
God, to wake people up.
Yeah.
I think, even with, which we're not talking much about now, is this, COVID time that we had, but it wasn't until they started targeting the children that most people got upset and started
Yeah.
thinking, actually, hang on a minute, you know. So yeah, these young ones, I feel like that there's a lot that are bringing through to try and clear the old patterning, and yeah, it's big, it's big, big.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm looking at as you're talking, I was thinking about my granddaughter, and 'cause she's 27 now and got a 5-year-old. And it's like her 5-year-old has been clearing. Her and I did a lot of work when she was a child, by the way,
Yeah,
because I was doing an art therapy course at the time, so I was using it on
yeah,
her. But somehow there's there was a space between 14 and 20 where she just fell off the rails. But this little boy has brought her right back in, and
mm,
he is really helping her to remember who she is and the power
yes,
that she holds within her.
yeah,
And
it's
it's
beautiful,
it's
eh?
it's beautiful. She
Yeah.
told me the other day she was going to a breathwork session and a sound healing and a breathwork session. I went, well
Wow.
done.
I
Yeah.
reckon. Oh, that's
Yeah.
really
So
cool.
it was very cool to hear that she's gone back onto the path
Yeah,
without anybody around her to encourage her. She's
yeah,
just gone, yep, that's me. I'm back in here. Yeah,
yeah.
and using her
Beautiful.
gifting. Mm,
Yeah. Oh,
mm.
that's so cool. So, have you got any workshops or anything sorted, Bev, that you're putting out at this moment in time, or
No, I don't
anything like that?
right this minute. I am in the process of creating a 9-week program to do online, where every week we'll explore one different aspect of shadow.
Mm,
So we'll have a look at control and see where we hold that within the physical, and the antidote to it is to surrender.
beautiful.
It's like addiction into independence. It's like, so all of these, I'll be doing that course very shortly,
Cool.
um, and I will be advertising that through Facebook, through my contacts.
Yeah.
Yeah, uh, and it's a great program. I've done it. I used to do it in New Zealand where it was a 9-month program, and people came for one weekend a month.
Yeah.
And the growth that people had from that was like extraordinary. I look at some of them now and the things that they're doing, I go, oh, that's what I came for.
I know, isn't
I
it
find it so
wonderful?
exciting to help people to feel their um, feel their own
Freedom.
potential and
Yes.
to start doing, expanding and doing their own thing. So
Yeah,
I just love it.
I
Mm,
do too. I love it too.
mm,
And there's no questioning, when you look at the result in a sense, and you're not, I mean, the thing being is when we go into work with anyone and they're and assist them, really we're just assisting. We're not,
yeah.
it's not about us doing it for them or anything like that. It's just holding space for them to be
Holding
able to go in and
space.
do it. And you're not looking at the result because you don't know what the result might be. You have no idea, so there's no way that you can want to program anything to get this
No,
result, and you're just
no,
leaving it openly for divine to play in their game and show
yeah,
them what they need to see. And when that happens and when you see the result, and it's a
yeah.
positive, and then there's this wave, it just sort of like the ripple that
Books.
continually keeps rippling out, and it's just a wonderful thing
It is.
knowing that they're now not in, as I struggle to see people in pain, emotional
Yep.
pain, let alone the physical pain, yes, but the emotional pain, I just struggle to,
So much.
witness that with some people. I have to just offer. you
Yep.
know,
Yep.
yeah, yeah. But when you see that there's a leap forward, they've let go some shackle that they've had on them. Oh my gosh.
I just
There's
love.
only one person, that's heaps.
Yep. To
Yeah.
be of service. I
Mm,
don't know. It's like I think I've been training all my life to be of service,
yeah, me
and I
too.
don't mind. I like it.
I
I
no, I
like it.
love
I
it.
don't need to be in the spotlight. I'm quite happy to be of service and hold a space for others to
Yeah,
do what they need
absolutely.
to do. Mm.
Yeah. It's lovely to I was going to say, it's lovely to be seen though, Bev. Okay, you might not need or require the spotlight as such, but it's also lovely to be seen.
Yeah,
And
it's,
and I feel like this is a part of what Intimate Conversations does, is it's trying to highlight those who are in this beautiful service of love work,
yeah.
on the planet, and you so deserve to be seen.
Oh, thank you, Mandy.
Mm,
Yeah.
love you lots, Bev. So yeah, is there anything else? And what would you, any final sort of
What?
words or
Well,
anything?
if, yeah, if anybody wants to get in touch with me, they can get me through Messenger. They can get me through Messenger, pretty much.
Yeah, yeah. Facebook's the thing, eh? Like,
Yeah,
because
I've
you
been
don't
on
have a
Facebook
website
for.
anymore, do you? You used to have a website.
No, I used to have a website, but since I came back to Australia, I sort of let go of a lot of stuff and I haven't
Yeah,
recreated it. And it's getting closer to the time for me to recreate a
yeah,
website and do all of those things. But yeah, it takes a bit to move countries, I can tell you.
yeah, for
Um,
sure, I'd say.
yeah, yeah,
Yep.
it takes a lot. But yeah, if you send me a message, I'm more than willing to and able to assist you if that's what you would like
Yeah,
to do.
beautiful.
Yeah, and
Beautiful.
as I said, we can do it in person or I can do it online.
Mm. And it's really that time, we had that conversation once, Bev, you and I speak a lot to each other.
Yep.
We're good friends. And I know we were saying about feeling really exhausted and tired. This was a little while back, like last year. And we
Yeah.
both came to that realization that we're actually redoing ourselves again. It's like recreating ourselves new in a differences, whatever they might be. We weren't even sure about what that was, and what we were even going to be doing. Like so many of us, those ones that are leading the way in some way, like ourselves. It's at a point where we lost everything in many ways, And
Mm,
now we had to really recreate ourselves again. So I get the, like for me, it was new branding. It was like, I was pathways to the soul, pathways to the light. And then it just came into Mandy Horton. It was like, well, that's all we need to do now. So it's that sort of thing. We're all moving ourselves in a different way now, aren't we? And it does
yeah,
take a bit of time to shuffle ourselves through it.
yeah,
But Facebook's been solid for us in the sense of being able to advertise ourselves out there a bit. And that's
yeah,
where
it has.
it's
Um,
been good.
it
Mm,
has been good for,
yeah.
yeah. Might not like us being controversial, but we're still allowed to put our healing stuff out there.
Yes. I'm
Yeah,
so glad that all of that was left alone and we could actually carry on in that way and
yeah,
not be shut down of
yeah.
misinformation or whatever it might have been.
Whatever it might have been.
But yeah,
Yeah,
good stuff, Bev. Good
all
stuff.
right.
And can't wait
Mm,
to see what that course is that you're doing, that 9 weeks.
yeah,
That will be great.
oh, yes.
9 month, 9 week.
No, we'll do it. We're shortening it. Well, because everything is so much quicker now
It is,
than it
totally.
was.
Yeah.
So, you can do it over 9 weeks, or maybe it'll be 18 weeks, once a fortnight. I'm not exactly sure, but I'm thinking,
Yeah, I get it.
yeah,
Yeah.
because what happens with when we go in, say we're doing control.
Yeah.
Okay, what I get the people to do is look where control keeps showing up in their life, whether it's their own control or they're being controlled, and then using the antidote of surrender to
Mm,
to come into that place of being more peaceful.
yeah.
Mm,
Yes, beautiful.
mm,
Actually, just been at an expo the last weekend, 2 days, and the whole theme through all the readings, everyone that sat with me was most of them was all about control. Where was
oh,
it in them? Where is it playing out in their life? And
yeah,
if we look at the bigger picture, it's all about control. So
yeah,
it's now disconnecting. Find the
yeah,
disconnect within self to bring yourself more out of that system and that matrix. And yeah. So it's good.
mm,
That'll be a great course.
yeah,
Great course.
yeah. And I could have picked any other
Yeah.
shadow strand, but it was like control was right sitting
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you, Bev.
No,
Thank you for all you do and shining your beautiful light here on this planet with us all and shining it bright enough for me to find you because I love
yeah,
you very, very much, my
yeah.
sister.
I love
And
you.
yeah, we'll just keep doing what we're doing, eh?
Yep. And see how it changes and morphs.
Yeah, for
Mm.
sure.
Thank
Mm,
you so much for having me back again, Mandy. I love chatting with you. It's always,
same.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
always inspiring.
Well,
Mm.
thank you. And
Yeah,
much, much love.
yeah.